Becoming a girl engineer has become my unpaid second job. Now I'm no longer allowed to represent the company publicly. I work at a tech company. I'm one of two women in a technical role, and the other is very introverted and wouldn't be great at recruiting. So every time there's a recruiting event, I get voluntold for it. It was especially frustrating, and for me because my whole team is under crunch time, and a day I spend recruiting is a day I have to make up later. I was at a recruiting event at a local college, and a young woman who was thinking of applying asked how the diversity at my company was. It looked good from our panel and promotional materials. Side note, almost every person of color, woman, or queer presenting person on the promo materials has either quit or never worked there in the first place. I answered honestly in front of a small group, well, there are two women in technical roles, and as one of them, it sometimes feels like working two jobs. One as an engineer, and one as the token girl engineer who gets pulled away from work for every photo op or recruiting event. Honestly, if you like being a trailblazer and are prepared to take on the extra unspoken PR as the girl engineer, you might find a role here fulfilling. But if you prefer keeping your head down to focus on the technical side, it is easier to do that at a company where there is more gender and racial diversity. She appreciated my honesty, but the manager who was running the event told me to leave. I have a meeting with HR and my manager tomorrow. I don't think my opinion will be any news to them, as I've already told them I'm not interested in being assigned to photo ops or recruiting disproportionately because of my gender. And I've been told that it's important for me to be there to help recruit a more diverse staff since the company is trying to improve. I feel like they're mad that I said the quiet part out loud at the recruiting event, but it was an honest answer to the question, and I keep on being brought to these things from my unique perspective and whatnot. Update: I had the meeting. I recorded it with their consent, even though that was hard to come to an agreement on. I basically said that as I understood it, they had asked me to recruit because they want more female applicants and felt I could help recruit in a way the men on the team wouldn't, and that they wanted me there to share my unique perspective as a woman in the field. Is that correct? My manager and HR confirmed that. I said that that role is often referred to as a trailblazer, but is also often referred to as a token of a certain gender or race. But either way, the role was to publicly present the diversity of the company, and as I understood it, that was a part of my role, as mandated by management, to assist them in recruiting other women. I said I was asked about my experience by a potential applicant, and I answered in what I felt was an honest way, saying, there are two women here. I feel that on top of a technical role, my role here as a woman is to be a trailblazer or token for other women. If that dual role appeals to you, this would be a good fit. If a purely technical role appeals to you, this may not be a good fit. I see this as similar to how other recruiters say, this is a very fast-paced role. If you enjoy that role, you would be a good fit, but if you do not, you may not be. And I was wondering why I had been called to meet when other employees who had described the role and the sort of person they want to fill the role have not been. The HR guy said that token was often seen as having a negative connotation, and I was deterring applicants. I said that fast-paced is also seen as negative to people with outside obligations, for example. And I didn't understand why being frank about the nature of my role was a problem. In fact, recruiters are often encouraged to be frank to attract candidates who are genuinely good matches. It would help attract the sort of woman who would like to be a token female engineer and deter the type of woman who would not. My manager got frustrated and raised his voice to say, nobody wants to be a token. And honestly, I just looked at him with a no shit face but said, that doesn't really track with your previous comments. You frequently said that I should be proud to represent the company and that I am much needed at these events. It sounded like you see it as an admirable and much appreciated role. He said I was being a smartass, and I said, I apologize, but I'm frustrated by a number of the contradictions in the messaging around this role, that I should be frank about the job expectations to recruit good fitting candidates. However, I should not be frank about my personal job expectations, despite that never having been communicated to me, hearing that I should be proud and happy to represent the company as a female engineer to attract other women, but then hearing that nobody wants to be in my shoes and that if I describe my role, I will deter applicants, to hear that the company is making efforts towards diversity. However, that effort doesn't seem to continue to retention, as this year, 4 female employees quit, 2 were hired, and then rapidly quit. This is a retention rate far lower than average. I'm frankly confused by what my role in this company is. Do you want an engineer or do you want a token? My manager snapped at me and said that I am an engineer. I said I would like my job duties to reflect that. The HR guy said that I wouldn't be permitted to publicly represent the company anymore. I said okay. So I feel like my manager is pissed off, but I'm well along in the interview process with several other companies, so hopefully that won't be a problem anymore. I'm not quitting till I have a new offer signed, but I'm not too concerned if I get fired and get unemployment.